Monk was the last class added into Baldur's Gate 3 right before launch, and with it we get 3 fun subclasses. But the big question is, how is the Elemental Monk? Is it any good? Is it better than the 5th edition tabletop? Well, in this video today, we're going to talk about the Elemental Monk, some of the problems that it faces, and how to kind of shore those problems up to make this a very fun and effective class. If this is your first time on my video, first time on one of my videos, the way I do things is by upfronting the knowledge in my video so you can decide to stick around if you so wish. So with that being said, I will say that the Elemental Monk is completely viable if you want to just kind of play through and not have a 100% optimized character or experience or all that kind of jazz. If you want to play with one, have at it. You'll have just as fun of a time as if you had completely min-maxed it. Maybe you just won't kill things as quickly. But to be completely candid, it is not the best subclass for Monk. The open hand Monk is just so effective, and what makes the Elemental Monk kind of suffer is the fact that it is so reliant upon its key points to really allow it to use its special abilities. Once it runs out of those points, it needs to short rest to get them back online. But in the middle of a fight, you can't do that. So an open hand Monk can really kind of benefit from the entire time. So going 12 levels into an Elemental Monk, not the best, but you can combat that by going maybe 9 Elemental Monk, 3 Thief, and really kind of have a lot of fun with going with the Tavern Brawler build, where you focus on strength rather than dexterity. We'll go with 10 Monk and Fighter 2 for just kind of a normal feel, where you do still go with dexterity and wisdom. You could even go something spicy like 10 Monk and 2 Spore Druid, whatever it is. But there's a lot of things that you can do with this to make it work. So in this video, we're going to show that off. If that's all you wanted to know, though, please feel free to shut the video down. Before you do, please don't forget to like, comment, and or subscribe. Each one of those things does help me out in an absolute huge way. And like I've said before, I have something like 89% unsubscribed viewer base on the channel, and that is a metric I am trying to change here before the year's end. You can jump ahead to any part of this video that interests you the most using the chapters in both the timeline and the description. And if you need help with any other Baldur's Gate 3 subject, I have an entire playlist linked in the description, the pinned comment at the end of this video, all over the place that you can jump to get a ton more help. Well, let's get started here on, is the Elemental Monk any good in Baldur's Gate 3? Loading into the game, let's talk about the Four Elements Monk and what the problem really is. Because the class is really, really cool on the kind of surface, right? You're a monk that takes advantage of all these elemental attacks to do a lot of really cool stuff. You have a fun amount of elemental utility, and you are still a monk. So you have a lot of, almost said utility again, but you have a lot of really cool ways to get around the battlefield, a lot of mobility, a lot of really fun damage capabilities, just a lot of cool stuff that you can do. I think Monk is slept on, unfortunately, far too much. And again, this is a way better rendition of the Four Elements Monk than the one that exists in 5th edition. You can have a lot of fun with this character, and yeah, it's not going to be 1000% optimized, but it's still going to at least be good, fun, and passable. But what's the big problem here? It comes down to these key points. So your key points are restored on a short rest, which is great. The Elemental Monk gets this, Harmony of Fire and Water, while not in combat, regain half your key points rounded down. So again, ours is 12, so this would give us 6 back. This is great. Another thing too is using certain items that'll help restore some key points. So those are your big kind of issues, because yes, you can restore them, but you are solely reliant upon them in the same way as spell slots, but different, because spell slots have different slots per level, right? No, you have one cumulative amount and you are going to pull from it. So if you use this one, Fangs the Fire Snake, which is actually a very, very, very good ability, it costs a single key point. It reminds me of the game Jade Empire. Was so good. But you see, we've cast that. We're now down to 10. And we're good to go, right? We can just kind of keep casting out every turn if we want. But as we get into higher levels, we get into some better spells. Like we get Shatter, which is now 3 key points. Or we get Scorching Ray, which is now 3 key points. Now it does upcast, right? Now this is 4 Flaming Rays rather than 3. But at level 11, you get access to your final round of spells with the Four Elements Monk. You get a Fireball, you get a Mist Form, you get a Fly, and I think it's like one other thing. But the big damage one here, Flames of the Phoenix, costs 4 key points to cast this thing. And that's the problem here. If at max level, you can only cast a spell 3 times, or one of these spells 4 times. And that's kind of where it starts to have an issue, right? Your Fist of Four Thunders or your Chromatic Orb, 2 key points to cast these. And once you've exhausted your key points in casting spells, you cannot use your key points to use Stunning Strike, which is one of the biggest things of being a monk, or Flurry of Blows, or using your other ability that allows you to do a melee attack after you hit someone with your fist. That's the problem. And the open hand monk does not suffer this because the open hand monk, even when they run out of key points, just their base attack is still going to get damage added in because it allows for that. You're not reliant upon items as much as you are as a 4-element monk. It's still a fun class, and my monk character is 4 elements, so please don't be discouraged by this video. I just want to kind of show what the issues are, because now let's talk about how we can fix some of those issues. Without getting into any of the classes and combinations, let's talk strictly about gear. So what we're wearing right now is a lot of probably the more optimal. I am missing 2 items, and I'll talk about them in their respective situations. But the chest piece here, Vest of Soul Rejuvenation, is quite nice. Whenever the succeeder, or the wearer succeeds on a saving throw against a spell, they regain some hit points. Always lovely. And the wearer can use a reaction to make an unarmed strike against any attacker that misses. So this allows you to kind of weaponize anytime someone attacks you and misses. It gives you an ability to not use key points to do some damage, which is always quite lovely. Also, too, you've got this hat, which is just a really basic crap-ass hat. But whenever you deal fire damage, you gain Arcane Acuity for 2 turns. Arcane Acuity is nice because it has a +1 bonus to its spell attack rolls and spell difficulty class per turn remaining. So it gets you a little bit of layering into your damage capabilities. We have the nice Cloak of Protection, just some armor class and saving throws. The Boots of Uninhibited Kushigo are absolutely crucial. Get them in Act 2 to Act 3, kind of bridge point, I believe it is. There's like a little mini thing that happens in between the two, and it's very spoiler heavy, but you can't avoid it, and you'll get them during that. The wearer deals additional damage equal to their wisdom modifier with unarmed strikes. So just putting these on, I do an additional +4, and that's absolutely huge. Also, this amulet, the Sentient Amulet, this starts as a quest in Act 1 and finishes in Act 3, and it is crucial because it gives you that key restoration. Just like there's that one amulet that helps out with spell slots, which I think you get in Act 1, Act 2. This one is crucial for you as an elemental monk. Even if you just go with an open hands monk, it's pretty crucial just because it gives you passive key restoration, which is quite lovely. Yes, you do have to do a long rest in between each one, but it gives you just more key between each rest. This makes it so that if you have just your standard short rests, plus this amulet, plus this ability, plus a bard, your key stops becoming such a barrier to you because you have so many ways to just get rests going and not have to worry about them. It's a very, very nice thing to have. You can use these Uninhibited Kushigo gloves. They're not as amazing. The Uninhibited Kushigo chest piece that you get in Act 1 is a great holdover until you jump into either this one or this one here in Act 3. The nice thing about these two is it allows you to kind of turn Patient Defense or Step of the Wind into something, right? So Step of the Wind and Patient Defense are right here. So this is going to allow it so that I get Blade Ward if I cast Patient Defense. Or Step of the Wind, next attack roll has advantage and deals an additional 1 to 8 force damage. So these are key points, right? And key points are at a premium. So at least we get more out of using them. So keep that in mind is right. Like, so you want to kind of focus on using those key points for any kind of offensive spells, because that's the kind of focus of this class. But if you can at least pull more value out of using one key point to get you, okay, well, Blade Ward here. Well, now I've got resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. Or now I do 1 to 8 force damage because I was just going to go punch something in the back of the head anyway. So gets you a nice little extra pump in there. The Fistbreaker helmet that you get in Act 2 in the Moonrise Tower is always great. You give him +1 bonus to spell save DC, and you give him +1 bonus to initiative rolls. Pretty much all the Barbarian armor is pretty good in general. This is also nice too, Killer Sweetheart, for giving you some good crit hits with any kind of attacks with your fists. Now the gloves I'm wearing and the two new, well, one of the items I'm going to talk about, relies on using melee weapons. Remember, monk weapons are any weapon that you are proficient in as a monk is a monk weapon. So let's just say a quarterstaff because you are proficient in quarterstaffs. But if you maybe start as a Githyanki, then you are proficient in longsword, shortsword, and greatsword. So those are all monk weapons for all intents and purposes. Well, maybe not the great sword. It can't be heavy or two-handed, I believe. A quarterstaff is versatile. But this, when a weapon attack roll inflicts a condition, the wielder gains arcane acuity. And these are not, even though they look like armor, they are not armor, which is really cool. Another really crucial one, and this is not based off of actual weapons, but this is one of the best ones that you can get for the class, is the Gloves of Cinder and Sizzle in Act 1 in the Mountain Pass. Your unarmed attacks deal an additional 1 to 4 fire damage, and you get a bound Scorching Ray, which does not use a key point, and it will upscale as you level, so it'll eventually do 4 rounds of Scorching Ray. Let's take a look here now at this ability, Fangs of the Fire Snake. This is why Fangs of the Fire Snake is so good. Your next melee attack deals an additional 1 to 4 fire damage, which will stack with the Gloves of Cinder and Sizzle's innate fire damage, which will then help trigger Arcane Acuity from Hat of Fire Acuity. So you really need to kind of take a look at maybe focusing on a specific weapon or a specific element. I'm sorry, a specific element, not weapon, to really pull a lot of value out of what this class does innately. And that's a real big thing that I think is not as apparent when you first jump into it. The last thing here that I want to talk about that is based off of a weapon is the Diadem of Arcane Synergy. When you inflict a condition, gain Arcane Synergy for 2 rounds. Now, Arcane Synergy in and of itself is weapon attacks deal additional damage equal to affected entity's spell casting ability modifier. So basically, this just means that if you're using a monk weapon, it's really going to work really well for you. If you're not, it's not going to work so well for you since it is based off of a weapon attack. And monk weapons, again, are going to be bound. You're proficient in monk weapons, so those will work. Now, outside of that, outside of all of your equipment, you can do another little thing to kind of add a little bit more power into this build. How am I going to find this? Where do I find this? It's Elemental Adept Fire. Spells you cast ignore resistance to fire damage. In addition, when you deal fire damage with a spell, you cannot roll a 1. So what I've done here is basically focus and to double down on any of my fire capabilities. That's why I've pulled almost all of my fire capabilities from my actual spell list. So now I'm using and focusing on those fire abilities. You could do this though with lightning, right? You've got those great gloves that I showed off earlier that have the lightning charges right there in that beginning in Act 1. You can use, there's a lot of stuff that actually gives you tons of lightning charges, and you can play a lot with that, going Elemental Adept Lightning, and you get tons of lightning abilities as a, what the hell is this guy called? This is both thunder, right? Yeah, these are both thunder, but there are lightning abilities as an elemental monk. So rather than just playing this class kind of free form like you would a wizard, you have to kind of think more about almost like you're playing a storm sorcerer or a specific element based character. That's how you play this class. You focus on that one because it's just how you get more value out of what you're doing. You don't need to do it. You'll be just fine if you don't. But this is how you really pull an extra punch out of it. So now that we've gone over items, we've gone over some feats, let's talk more about how we can actually divide up the multi-class to make this work. Our multi-class options are going to come down to basically 2 big ones I'm going to focus on here today. Monk Fighter and Monk Rogue. Pulling more bonus actions into this character is going to be a huge benefit because we get so many things in our bonus actions category for a monk that this just really allows us to take off. The alternative here is to go with Fighter and just get Surge, right? Get more action out of our fighter, out of our character, so we can use our primary action. It would be a 10-2 Monk Fighter or a 9-3 Monk Rogue. Let's talk though about something else, and this is our ability points and stats. So right now you can see my character. This is how my ability points are before we jumped into us talking about everything. 16 dexterity, 14 con, and 16 wisdom. This allows us to maximize our dexterity gain, and this allows us to get the most out of our wisdom checks. But you don't necessarily need wisdom with this. You could actually have this a little bit lower if you want. And what we're really going to talk about is the Tavern Brawler. So we've swapped things around here, right? Our strength is now 15, our dexterity is 14, and our wisdom is still 16. And I know what you're saying, why is my strength at 15? You don't get any benefits from having it at 15. And there's a specific reason why. Tavern Brawler is a half feat, meaning it will give us 1 ability score in either strength or constitution. This allows us to maintain really good benefits of both dexterity and our wisdom. So take a look at this. Our wisdom's still going to be at 16, giving us +3 to all of our saving throws, but it helps out with our spell DC because that's where we'll be casting all of our spells from. And it'll also allow us to get benefits or anything that's going to say, hey, your wisdom modifier gets added into this, and so on and so forth. Also, remember, we are a monk, so our dexterity and wisdom comes into our armor class, so that's a +5. And our strength will go from a +2 right here. It'll be a +3 once we get the Tavern Brawler. The first one we're going to show off here is the Monk Rogue that uses Tavern Brawler. So with the feat selection of Tavern Brawler, you can see when you make an unarmed attack, use an improvised weapon, or throw something, your strength modifier is added twice to the damage and attack rolls. Both. That's pretty huge, right? Our strength at 15 now goes to 16, and we have +3, which is actually doubled to now +6. That is substantial. And then on our next set of, what's this thing called? Feats, we can use improved ability score and put 2 more points into strength here. So this is now a +4, which is truly a +8. Whatever you want to do with this to really try to spice into this really strong combination here. So after we got 4 levels into Monk, you can just kind of keep pressing on here. Getting that 5th level here is probably the right idea just to get your extra attack unlocked. And I would accept that. And now, before going further into Monk, what I would probably do here, even though this gives you keep empowered strikes, your unarmed attacks count as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistances and immunity to non-magical damage. You have plenty of ways to do that, so I wouldn't worry about it. And keep in mind too, at level 6 and level 11 is when you start to get like the next set of abilities. So all these ones cost 1 key point, or not that guy. And this one now starts to cost 3 and 2 and stuff like that. So you start to jump into some of the higher key point ones that are a little bit different. But level 6, we can spice over here into Rogue. I'm gonna choose all of its defaults here. And remember, because we have very high dexterity, that sleight of hand that you saw will get an innate bonus against it. So we get our bonus actions here that are all great, but we still kind of have our own bonus actions as a monk. We want level 3 so we can get Thief, and Thief is going to grant us Fast Hands, gain an additional bonus action. We'll take that, and then we're going to go back into Monk here and start choosing more stuff. And of course, my character's still not level 12. I don't know if we'll ever make a level 12 character. Make all these damn videos, but never make a level 12 character. So, at this point, we're 8-3. We are at level 11. This is the last level I can show off in the video. The max level here would be level 9, where we would be able to jump into not much more. But you have a choice. You can go ability improvement and make your melee attacks go even better. You can definitely take that route if you so wish. There is a spider 3 inches from me, and it's terrifying me in the middle of this recording. But another really cool route to take here is Elemental Adept if you're really focusing on kind of doing what I was saying, where you take the strength of really honing in on one thing and going crazy with it. And for this video, I'm just going to do it because I kind of like it. I think it's kind of fun. But Elemental Adept here, spells you cast ignore resistance to fire, and in addition, you can deal fire damage with a spell. You can roll a 1. So you can have fun with that. No, screw it. We're just going to go hard in the paint on the strength. So we've got that 18 strength. It's going to be really beneficial here. And have a ton of fun with that. And it allows us to kind of have a character that has way more in their kit now, right? So we have all of our bonus actions that we can take advantage of. We have all these little kind of juicy ones over here. Now we're missing some key points and stuff that we would have gotten at level 9. But if I take a look at this. Sweeping Cinder... Oops, nope. Sorry. This. Fangs the Fire Snake, right? The one that you've seen me use before. Your next melee attack deals additional 1 to 4 fire damage. And if I take a look at this, I mean, that's not really going to do a whole ton. It's really about trying to kind of wombo combo these things together. Using just your simple 1 key ability with Fangs of the Fire Snake and adding in those Cinder Gloves to really just get a ton of usefulness out of this combination. And that Tavern Brawler, remember, we're now going to get that +8 to our attack rolls and our damage. So we'll be able to pump out quite a bit with this combination. Let's show off a little bit of this damage here. I'm going to go ahead and use Fangs of the Fire Snake. And she's going to get mad if that's okay. But let's go back to this. take a look at all that damage, right? Yeah, sure. Improve that thing and don't react there. So, Fangs the Fire Snake. Martial Arts, unarmed strike. You can make an unarmed strike with as a bonus action this turn. Now we can do another unarmed strike since we're still in that same turn. Fangs of the Fire Snake, affected entities now gives us 1 to 4 extra fire damage, and we gained Arcane Acuity from it because I'm a clever girl. So let's just go ahead and push through. Okay, back over to my character here. So, because of that whole like shenanigans of dealing with the start of the situation, we lost our Fangs of Fire Snake. But I'm just going to go ahead here. We have our bonus actions, and it counts as a extra attack here, right? So we can kind of really layer this in. And now we've got our unarmed strike. And we can have a lot of fun with that, right? We have our extra bonus actions, and we can pull even more into this. We can go ahead and use Fangs of the Fire Snake again. And I have my unarmed strike. So I can run over here and like judo chop this person right in the face. Because I have unarmed movement. I can move like 1,000,000 feet a minute.
Swift as my feet can carry me.
But let's use this. And this thing is the same exact thing, unarmed strike, right? And just kind of punch someone right in the face. So you just get a lot of fun things that you can do with this. We still have all these bonus actions, so we can use another unarmed strike here. And we're just kicking the crap out of everyone. So you really get to layer a lot. And we didn't see a ton of crazy damage because I haven't really optimize this character out, but it's just a way to kind of show you, you know, hey, we're using Fangs of the Fire Fist, we're using martial arts, and we're trying to get all these things to work in conjunction to give us a lot of really good damage from that Tavern Brawler and from all of the bonus actions that we can do to try to really layer things together. And since we can also replenish stuff with Harmony of Fire and Water, our amulet, just short resting, it allows us to keep going because we are using the single cast of the key point rather than jumping really hard in the paint here on a really big one like the 2 key point cast here, or I think this is a 2 key point as well, or even some of the 3 or 4 ones from the later spells. And we would only go up to 1 more level anyway in this, but just to show off what the rogue looks like in comparison to the fighter. So let's switch over to that one now. With the monk fighter, you can still go with Tavern Brawler and everything like that, but just to kind of showcase a non-Tavern Brawler here, let's go ahead and just do the dexterity version. 16, that's 16, get this to 14, and I assume you're the main character, so we got that to 12. This would probably be your standard, just, I'm a monk, I'm going to use dexterity and wisdom to my best of my ability. If you could even bring this up to 10 if you don't want to deal with any reduction to any kind of shove rolls or anything like that. But this is what I would probably stick with on just a generic monk fighter build. And I would actually jump into fighter immediately just to get it out of the way. Because if you do that, we get second wind and we get a fighting style. And a nice thing here is just I would go with defense unless I intended to take some sort of monk weapon or anything like that. But just having defense online, it's a good just +1 to my AC. We'll get another 1 and we'll just get our action surge online and we'll be done. And then we're going to spend the rest of the time just putting all of our levels here into monk. Messing that up. There we go. And just jumping all the way down this list. It's super straightforward. I'm going to focus again on the fire abilities because of the items that are beneficial to monk, I only have the fire focused ones. And we're going to go ahead and go with, you know what? I think we'll go with, I'll just do elemental add up this time around, just to kind of have fun with that. And really it's straightforward. All we do is just press accept all the way. Focusing on more of those fire abilities. Maybe we can go... Savage Attacker is nice, but it is a melee weapon attack. So if you went with any of the melee weapons, then it would be a really good call, right? If you're with a monk weapon. But outside of that, it is not. I'll just go ability score. We'll put it into wisdom because there's so many ways to improve our attacks based off our wisdom score. Example, this. We'll just go with a push, because why not? And this should be done. There we go. So with this ability, we have kind of swapped our extra emphasis, right? Rather than having that additional bonus attack, now we have an additional action in that we can use Action Surge to pull more out of it. So I'm not going to show any combat for this because it's really just the same as if you saw with the monk. We could simply use tons of Fangs of Fire Snake, but the nice thing here is that now we can do Fangs of the Fire Snake and Sweeping Cinder Strike or Embrace of the Inferno, then move up to someone and do something else. You can just now layer in all of your actions to get more action out of every single round. You could simply just use Unarmed Strike a whole bunch if you wanted, followed by, okay, Unarmed Strike, then bonus action to Unarmed Strike. So you can play a lot with that. You can do something like Fangs of the Fire Snake into the Unarmed Strike that it gives you, into the Unarmed Strike here. So it's really just a big, it just comes down to how you want to approach your engagements, right? Because now you have more actions to cast more spells and be more of a casting Four Elements monk. And with Unarmed Strike here, you can see the difference between this and Tavern Brawler. 9 to 16 plus 8 here, because we have all of our benefits that we're pulling into our character. So I think this is a little bit better than just a pure Elements Monk, because I get to cast more. I can play more with my key points. I can do more stuff in a given round. Sure, I might exhaust out of them quicker, but at the same time, I'm more powerful in a given round than I would be otherwise. Keep in mind too, of course, Action Surge is once per turn, and you have to short rest. So at least short resting too gets this back online as well as my key point. But hopefully this helps you out on taking a look at the Four Elements Monk and how to really get the most out of it. If you want to go the Tavern Brawler route, definitely go with the Rogue, or you can go with the Fighter as a Tavern Brawler if you so wish, whichever one makes the most sense. But pulling in that extra bit of utility to give you some more action economy, either as a primary action or a bonus action, is really the way to make this class work for you. If you have any other suggestions or any other ways that you've played your Four Elements Monks to great lengths, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. Maybe say, hey, you know what? You talked about a lot of good items, but you didn't talk about this one. This is really the one that works the best. Or, hey, I've played it with this type of character, and this is the way that I multi-class to really make it work. I mean, you could jump into different variations by going into Wizard or stuff like that, or spicing into Druid or Cleric, since it's already a Wisdom-based class. There's plenty of ways to kind of spice up this Four Elements Monk. And really, I impress upon you, if you're playing the Elements Monk, to have a lot of fun with it. It's a really cool class, and it's the one I'm really enjoying as I play through my Monk playthrough that is also a Dark Urge playthrough in Baldur's Gate 3. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one, and take care.